Tom, this machine here is a Brother Speedio M140X2. Tell us a little bit about the concept of the machine and how different it is to maybe some of the other Brother Speedio models.
Well, this is a relatively new model, Paul. It's a multitasking machine, but with the added capability of turning. This is quite unique to Brothers machines. This is actually the second version of it. They've made some improvements and enhanced the specification.
So for those that haven't seen let's say the first model, when you talk about multitasking, from the milling side, has it still got all the same hallmarks, characteristics that you'd expect with a Brother machine? So high-speed tool changer, high-speed machining elements?
Exactly. It's identical, really. There's a lot of common components to the standard vertical machining centres that you see with Brother. But yeah, it's all about speed and reducing non-cut. So
why have they added this turn-in function, really to reduce operations and do everything in one hit on this machine?
Well, exactly. You know, I think most customers now are looking for one-hit production, and some of the applications that we've got for this do require some turning, maybe accurate boring that's difficult to achieve with circular interpolation.
But we'll come back to the turning and the boring. On the milling side, just tell us how fast the machine is, what you would expect from this model.
Well, the spindle speed on this is 16,000 RPM. We've got high feed rates of 20 metres a minute, and the turning capability, the rotational of this C-axis is 2,000 RPM. 2,000
RPM, so it's bringing turning into its own as well, isn't it?
Of course, yes, but also, you know, for multi-face milling, it will index to position extremely quickly, so, you know, that's also an added feature of the machine.
When you start bringing turning into it, you need tools for the turning. So are they housed in the same area as the normal milling tool carousel?
Yeah, it's located into the BT30 spindle, but there is a special adaptation there which locks it in. Two tapered pins, so there's a special holder for a boring tool or a turning tool, and it's located rigidly in position by these two tapered pins.
And do you have to expand the tool carousel capacity in order to take the extra tools for the other disciplines?
No, it sits in the same pockets on the ATC. So whether you have turning tools or a milling tool, it's exactly the same.
What about the machining accuracy on the turning and the milling? How do Brother maintain sort of, you know, high degrees of accuracy?
Well, it's the same accuracies. You know, the positional accuracy on the machine is plus or minus 3 microns, repeats to 1 micron. You've got perfect repeatability on the turning tool and the boring bar holder because it's located directly into taper pins, so there is no movement from it at all.
It looks quite a nimble machine. What would be the biggest sort of component you could get on here, and maybe the heaviest sort of part? Just to give us an idea of what you could do with this machine.
Yeah, well, you can fit a hydraulic chuck on it, which would be a 200mm diameter. The actual working envelope is probably somewhere in the region of a 300 metre cube capacity. So that would be probably the largest part that you put on, but most of the component parts really that we're, I suppose, adapting on this machine for machining is approximately 150mm cube.
Because you could look at this and think it's a great little 5-axis machine, which it is, plus with that turning capability if you needed to turn.
Yeah. I mean, it's some of the applications we've got no turning at all. You know, again, people like this machine because of its speed. You know, it's reducing their
non-cut
times. Yeah.
Programming finally here, Tom. How would you go about the programming on the turning as well as the milling? Is it easy?
Yeah, extremely. I'm not a programmer, but from our customers, you know, it's a fairly simple operation. Most people have got the knowledge of turning with surface speeds and feeds, but it's identical to any other system.
And I like the fact it's in a very small footprint as well, which probably helps you, doesn't it? Because you could probably sell these machines in multiples, I would imagine, in production environments.
It's really important these days. People are very concerned about the floor area, and they love the compactness of this machine.
Where are you going to sell it, Tom? Who's going to buy one of these, do you think?
Well, we've had quite a bit of success in the medical industry, you know, for making implant components. Some of these are traditionally done on on sort of turning centres with milling capability, but they're a lot more bigger and more expensive than this particular machine. Also, we have some in the automotive and the electronics industry, so there's quite a varied sort of application.
Yeah, I can see it's going to be a popular seller for you. Just going, the final point is the X1 to the X2. There's 4 differences, isn't there? So if people do know this machine from its predecessor, what is different now with the X2 model?
Well, I think there's 4 major points really. They've changed the direction of the tilt axis. It's now tilting towards the column rather than towards the operator. And this has really improved the accessibility of the tooling. It also enables us to give a bigger tilt angle, which is another improvement. The old machine, we had an inclusive tilt angle of 100 degrees. With this machine, we've got 150 degrees. So again, you know, we can access the component, in more angles, really.
More stroke as well?
Yeah, not so much stroke, but they've increased the height between the table surface to the spindle nose. And that in itself means that we've probably got a bigger working envelope of about, well, at least additional 15%.
Okay, anything else?
They've added some options which have helped to improve rigidity, especially of the tilt axis, the A axis. We've now got an option to have a clamp on there, which gives 400 Newton meters torque clamping. So for bigger parts in particular, or for doing steel components, you know, we're getting much more rigidity on that tilt axis.
I'm sure, like all your brother machines, it's going to be a real hit in the marketplace. Thank you, Tom.
Well, we hope so. Certainly, it's a little bit specialised, but again, with people looking at increasing their production rates, you know, I'm sure it's going to be a winner.